Hi, you are listening to Real True Facts, the realest, truest podcast. We are back again this week with an incredibly important episode. My name is Veronica Corningstone.
And I am Marvin Hagler.
Hey, Marvin.
Hello.
We had a little teaser trailer last week for our episode, but this week we are getting all scientific and we are talking about clones.
Yeah, I think it's something that needs to be addressed because after speaking to a lot of people, they're wondering, am I a clone? How would I know? What does it mean? A lot of kind of existential grief in the largest sense. So in our keeping with public service and helping those in need, we're doing an episode on clones.
I think it's really important to do that. It's a huge question. The first thing when you learn about clones, you think, could I be one? If it's a complete duplicate of yourself running around, what are the chances of you being one? Would you even know that you were one?
Yeah. How would I know? What would that mean? What would I even know? Am I the real deal or am I a copy of a copy of a copy? Maybe that's why I feel so tired all the time or run down, because I'm just, a third or fourth generation copy, and it starts to get a little bit diluted.
It's very possible. And we even named a few clones last week. I think we talked about famous people that were clones, like Paul Rudd, Michael Jordan, Gloria Estefan. Those were some people that we deduced that were clones.
Yeah, the Chicago Bulls.
Yeah, the Bulls, that whole 96 Bulls. They were all clones, and it's fitting because cloning really came around in 1996 with Dolly the sheep, but we'll get more into that. But I think before we really go into like the science behind cloning, we want to know, can we figure out if we are clones? And there's actually a test that you can take.
Okay, wow. All right. Yeah. I'll do it. I'm up for it.
You want to do it?
Okay. Yeah, as long as I'm nervous. I hope I can handle the results.
Yeah, so I took it, and there is a 36% chance that I might be a clone. It's low, and it's not probable, but it's not impossible. Right. So okay. Before you figure out if you yourself could be a clone or someone you know could be one, we'll take this test. So I'll ask you some questions and just answer honestly. It's the first answer that comes to mind. So, you just whatever your knee jerk is.
Okay.
So this is based off of the Voight-Kamff test for replicants.
Okay.
This is actually
test. Yes.
Yeah. This is actually the Voight-Kamff-Keaton test.
Oh boy. All right. I've heard of it, but I've not administered or taken it myself. So yeah. I'm ready. Just let me know how to answer.
All right. So just, take a deep breath and it's whatever happens, it's okay. Whatever happens, it's okay. There you go. Question number 1. You're watching TV. Suddenly you realize there's a wasp on your arm. What do you do?
I watch it.
Okay.
Is that an option? I look at it. I watch, see what it's doing.
Yeah, I'm taking all your answers and I'm going to put it into this this database here. It's going to crunch the numbers for us. Okay. 2, you're eating at a restaurant and it's time to tip your server. You take cash out, but a $50 bill falls into the server's hand. You meant to give them $5. What do you do?
I take the money back and give them a dirty look.
Okay.
All right. Say, why do you think you should get to keep that?
Yeah, how dare you? Okay. Number 3. Your roommate gives you a strawberry daiquiri and wants to talk about their day. They haven't paid rent in months because they're pursuing an acting career, but you know they had money to buy daiquiri mix. You take a sip. It's good. What do you do?
It's good. I say, is there an option? Like I say it's good, but I spit it out in disgust because I'm mad about them having money, so the flavor is tainted by their dishonesty. Is that an option?
Yeah, that's the second option.
Okay.
So here, we'll just okay. All right. Number 4. Now and then you think about the car you had as a teenager. It was an unreliable car, but you had good memories, like the time Kyle got really stoned at the drive-in and started talking about the universe. I think he moved to Nashville and got married. Do you look him up on Facebook or just leave it? Maybe owning a 99 Volkswagen Jetta again would be fun. What do you do?
I don't have any of those memories. I don't know how to answer.
Oh, fascinating.
Yeah, I don't know what that means, but I don't know a Jetta or a Kyle or a Stoned.
That's actually the fifth option here. Number 5. Finally, it's bring your kids to work day. Your child misbehaves and is slapped by the boss. What is your reaction?
I laugh.
Yeah, who wouldn't? Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and hit enter.
Okay.
Whoa. Are you ready for your results?
Yes, I'm ready.
So based on this, there is a 50% chance you might be a clone.
50. So
50%.
Right down the middle, there's as good a chance that I am as that I'm not.
Yeah, so you might be a clone, but you might not be a clone.
Okay, I can handle that. I feel like I'm exactly where I started.
Yeah. Man, I mean, I was at 36%, so it's anybody's game.
Wow. Okay, yeah, that's odd. I don't know what to do with that information. Maybe I'll have to take that offline or what.
Yeah, I mean, I guess just sit on it, think about it. I mean, that might be something that we could ask Dr. Seymour when he comes up from the science bunker, or our special guest today. We might be able to ask about, higher percentages of when you should be worried about if you're actually a clone or not.
Right. So speaking of our special guest, we have someone who's been in the field of cloning for a while now. Is that correct?
Yeah. I mean, she's been a doctor for a very long time, but she gained notoriety in 1996 after the first cloning of Dolly the sheep in Edinburgh, Scotland. She's Dr. Thelma Hanks from Queensland University. So she worked on that project. She has since gone rogue. Which makes me think that she knows some stuff that maybe people don't want her to know. But she's gone rogue now.
Okay, yeah, I'll have to ask because I'm not entirely sure what that would mean. That's probably because I'm not very familiar with the cloning establishment from which one would go rogue.
Yeah, well, from what I understand, cloning is a very punk rock kind of thing. So I think after you know some stuff, the possibility of you going rogue increases. So we'll meet with her later in the show, and we will talk all about the cloning of the sheep, Dolly, and hopefully she can answer some of the burning questions that we have.
Okay, so before that, why don't we get a good baseline, a good science foundation from Dr. Seymour?
Yes, we will talk to Dr. Seymour. Let's bring him up here from our science bunker. All right, Dr. Seymour, are you here?
Yes, I'm here. I was going to say welcome. Hello, Veronica.
Hey, welcome.
Oh,
I know.
Yeah, everybody, welcome.
Interviewing maybe went to your head a little bit from last week.
Oh, yes, that was quite the experience. I enjoyed it.
Good. It's a little taste of power. So thank you for coming back. We certainly appreciate your time. So let's get into sort of the nuts and bolts of cloning here. What exactly does it mean to clone something?
Right. Is there a zygote involved? Is that a thing?
Yes, he's very good. Very good.
I heard that, so I thought I'd bring it up. I thought it might be impressive.
Yeah. So cloning, we're trying to produce an identical copy. We're trying to get the DNA to match up. And yes, through a lot of that, there's some different processes there: fragmentation, translocation, screening, stomification. And in the process, we create a zygote, which then turns into an embryo, and then ultimately is our clone. Okay.
So I heard in the 70s and 80s, maybe even further back, people talked about test tube babies. Is that what that is, or is that similar? How do those things connect?
Well, a test tube baby is not a clone.
Okay.
Some of the same processes that we learned in test tube motherhood and fatherhood allowed us to do cloning later. But a test tube baby is still the mix of the
traditional. Okay.
The parental input from two parents, as opposed to going from a single DNA source and trying to replicate that.
Okay. I understand.
Now, here's my question. If you have one test tube baby, it's not a clone, but what if you have two test tube babies? Different tubes, but the same kind of tube? Does that have anything to do with cloning? I admit I don't really know much about the subject.
It depends. It would be a clone if the spreading of the DNA is due to a lack of correct lab procedures of cleanliness, etc. Sometimes once the embryo is formed, they actually move way more than we expect. They are a wild little bundle of cells there that can sometimes jump from one test tube to another. So yeah.
So just you may not have the information directly in front of you, but how many then accidental clones might be out there just due to lab mix-ups or lab mistakes? How many? I mean, it sounds like we may have more clones out and about than we even realize.
Yes, it is actually very uncommon now. So any accidental clones would be it'd be important to get a good sample size, but they're so unaware of that as a possibility because, as you're saying, this goes back to test tube babies from decades before we were successfully cloning mammals. So it wasn't even thought of that someone could be a clone from that generation.
Wow. So have you heard of the Facebook guys, the Winklevoss twins? I have a sneaking suspicion they might, one of those two might be a clone. Do you have any insight into that?
I am unfamiliar with that specific case, but I have found that a lot of people on Facebook will use one another's pictures, and that is not cloning. So let's make sure that's not what we're exploring here.
Now, do we know, are the Winklevoss twins as good looking in real life as they were in the movie?
Yeah, I can actually answer that one. Yes. Because in real life they were on the rowing team, or they call that something more fancy. Yes, they
skull.
Scientifically, it is the crew.
Crew. Okay.
They row crew. Yes.
Row crew. I was gonna say
one...
scullery, but that's like when you drop your dishes off in a sink. That's not the right term.
Huh. Dishes.
Yeah.
They are in fact more attractive in real life. In my humble opinion.
That's interesting. I mean, that might have something to do with it.
Rowing twins.
Yeah.
Very athletic gentlemen. Well, now they're men because that was a long time.
Right. That was a long time ago.
So unfortunately, I haven't kept up with them. I assume they're still handsome.
Well, that's interesting to me because, it's possible that twins could actually be clones.
Yeah, I think that's much more likely. It seems odd to me that two babies would pop out looking exactly the same. Seems to make a lot more sense if there was one that came out and they said, you know what, we like this one.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Let's just copy this one.
Yeah. Like we want to hang on to what if we lose one? We gotta have a backup.
Roll the dice.
Yeah. Or if this one turns out evil, we've got another one we can redo on, but it's a hot baby. What are the odds we get a good looking one again if we screw up the first one?
Sure. Yeah. No one wants to take those chances. So why not play it safe? Yeah. So why don't we take a quick break and get into the nitty gritty with our special guest, Rogue Clonologist. I don't even know. Scientist. I guess we'll find that out.
Yeah, Rogue. Yeah, we'll be right back with Rogue Dr. Thelma Hanks. So So we are here on Real True Facts today talking all about the wonderful world of cloning. With us today is a very special guest. She hails from the Queensland University. I guess just school or science. She can tell us all about that. But her name is Dr. Thelma Hanks. She has worked in cloning. She did the first sheep cloning of Dolly back in 1996 in Edinburgh, Scotland, and she is talking with us today. Dr. Thelma Hanks, are you here?
Yes. Hello.
Hi.
Hi. Yes.
Thank you for
Biomedical
joining
researcher would be.
Biomedical researcher. I realized when I said Queensland University, I thought, oh, well, I mean, that could have been anything.
Well, formally with Queensland. I'm now not associated with any kind of place for legal reasons.
Sure.
But that was my most recent. I was with Queensland before I decided to go off the grid, as they say.
Yeah, when we talked to you prior to coming on the show, you mentioned you stressed multiple times that you have gone rogue, and that you are still very enthusiastic about your work, but you are now rogue. What does that mean exactly in the science community when you go rogue?
Well, as I mentioned, I'm no longer associated with any kind of learning institute or journal or really any organization. All my science and experiments are funded through myself. I happen to be independently wealthy, thank goodness. So I don't have to, I don't have to rely on grants or, I hate to say this cliche, but the man or anyone to tell me what I can and cannot research and clone.
Sure.
Was there a turning point or an event that made you go rogue? Was there some?
You could say that definitely there was. As you probably know, there's been a lot of talk on the ethical and moral reasoning on whether or not we should clone humans. And although, as I heard you guys speaking earlier, we know, those of us that seek the truth, know that human clones already exist, but to do it formally, everyone seemed very, very opposed. But
sure,
not me. I knew that it had to happen.
Mm-hmm. So that was the deciding factor, as sort of like this moral and ethical debate. You just said, screw it. I know what I want to do, and we're going to keep cloning humans.
Yes. And I want to put it out there. I don't want to keep it a secret anymore. I know a lot of governments, for instance, we had to leave Scotland after cloning Dolly because they didn't want us to open up or write or publish anything about the other experiments we were doing. So we moved to Australia. And then, after that, I've just decided to go off the grid entirely.
Mm-hmm. Now, are you in Australia now? Or is that something you can answer?
Disclose that? No. Sorry.
Sure. Okay.
We respect that here.
Yeah.
And we don't shy away from the ethical quandaries here on Real True Facts. I'm having a hard time thinking of what the other side of the argument is. Why? What kind of problems do people have with cloning? I mean, it's easy to say, oh, well, you're playing God. That's a platitude you can offer up, but it doesn't really hold much water. What's the real other side of the argument as you've experienced?
I think it's also what you do with the experiment when it's over. If it's someone like Dolly, you can monitor Dolly. She has a life expectancy of 6 years, which she met. But what do you leave a human clone in a research lab all its life? Yes, is my answer.
Mm-hmm.
Why wouldn't you?
So I think that's what I have done, and they all seem very happy.
Sure, they don't know any better. Why wouldn't they be?
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's almost like a rescue. You think about wild animals that are unable to live in the wild because they lack the skills that would keep them alive. We have rescues and facilities to house and take care of these animals to ensure their safety and survival. So in my mind, that's ultimately what I think you are doing.
Exactly. Like, I have several cats. They can leave and come back because they know how to cope. Sure. Not the humans, of course.
Yeah.
Right. Poor people, if, if someone says, oh, well, they'd be happier if they had a lot of money and they could afford, 3 meals a day in a car or what, clean air. They don't know any better. It's not like they'd be more or less happy. They just don't know what that stuff is. So, there's no reason to like, oh, well, clones deserve the human experience. That's not even in their world view. That doesn't exist to them. So why should we have to cater to that?
Exactly. I have let them watch some cable, so they do have some idea of what the human existence might be.
Sure.
They really like Sex in the City, so it's a little skewed.
Well, who doesn't? I mean,
yeah.
Right?
Well, I mean, I think about when I was a kid and I'd watch like 90210 and I'd think like, oh man, that's exactly what high school is like. Like, that's what prom is like. I imagine that's what it's like for the clones. They think that what they see on TV is exactly how it is in real life.
Right. But they don't know that no one lives a life like Samantha.
Sure.
True.
Yeah.
No one can. So how many human clones, have you made over the years? Ballpark.
Okay, well, I started a long time ago doing, in my biomedical research, doing something where we just, you'd mentioned earlier, can twin be created just through cloning. We did that. We've done that very often. That's something that we've been doing since the 30s. So, and that's what kind of clone Paul Rudd actually is.
I see.
Yes. So if we include those, which I started in about the early 80s.
Yeah, I guess that would be hard to put a number on. I'm thinking, how many have you just kind of kept tabs on? Maybe that's an easier number.
Like
how
the
many
success stories.
Oh, the success stories. Yeah, I'd say, I currently have 7 working with me. In my lab.
And do they serve different functions? Are they, what are you monitoring them for different things?
Yeah, well, I'm making sure that they all have are true clones, not just their DNA, but their decisions are similar. So I keep them all in separate rooms and I run similar tests on them, how they try to figure out mazes, what kind of jelly they like on their PB&Js. Like, I need to make sure that these are totally successful and that, the study of clones being absolute replicas is really.
Yeah.
So are these 7 copies? So are they all clones, or are these 7
Yes, sir.
different clones of? Oh, okay,
yeah.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So there are 7 of the same source person, I suppose.
True. Yes.
Wow.
Now I want to ask, because then you mentioned a clone like Paul Rudd. He is a famous person. He seems very highly functioning. Is that something that you're trying to get your clones to be? Is able to go out in the real world and come back or have their own lives? It's sort of like a release. A release program.
Tag and release.
Tag and release.
I've thought about that. I've toyed with the idea, but we haven't done that yet because I don't know how they would fare. I don't want to name any names, but there is a famous politician that is the source for the clone. Ideally, when I started, it would be to replace the politician, but now I don't know. That politician is no longer very active and they're just so cute. I kind of just like them here.
So go ahead.
Here's a question, maybe going back to ethics. I'm not sure. Do they know that they are clones?
They absolutely do not.
Interesting. Because I mean, I guess it would give you biased results if they, they're like, well, I'm a clone, so I'm not going to give her tell her what kind of jelly I'm using, or I'm going to tell her, raspberry when I really prefer blueberry.
Yeah.
So, wow, they don't
know. The oldest clone helps me take care of the younger clones because obviously they're not the same age.
Sure.
But that clone does not know that the younger ones are clones. The other ones aren't allowed to see each other.
Sure.
Wow. So interesting. Do you have, I'd love to see. Do you have I assume you have, cameras and everything everywhere, and this is being monitored 24 hours a day. But, wow, it's hard not to imagine this being a sitcom or a television show, but
I feel like that's a little disrespectful. These are, this being a sitcom, because it's really not funny. especially how stressful it is for me to keep the 6 apart. It's very frustrating.
A drama, then. I
Thank
guess.
you. Thank you.
I
Yes.
misspoke, yeah.
Yeah.
What would be the worst thing that could happen if they were all to interact with each other?
Aside from my studies, my study being pretty much ruined, I would say they could all possibly escape, get out. They do all enjoy to paint, so I'm also worried that if they are criticizing each other's paintings, that might really wreck them, because I lied and told them all they're very gifted. So
Yeah,
I would hate for
you'd end up having like a multiplicity situation where there'd be a lot of overlap and a lot of confusion, and they wouldn't know where the line was, I guess.
Multiplicity, is that the cloning term?
Multiplicity? That was the Harold Ramis movie starring Michael Keaton.
Oh, Beetlejuice.
One of them.
Okay, so one. Okay, I'll have to look that up.
Yeah.
Multiplicity, Harold Ramis, Beetlejuice.
Yeah.
Make a note of that.
Yeah.
I don't want to.
Because as we've discussed, Dr. Thelma, a lot of times movies and works of fiction get it right.
Yes.
And we have explored how the different things that we've talked about on the show have also been in movies, and in some cases Hollywood gets it right, in some cases they don't. And in your consumption of media, have you found that there are any books, TV, movies that realistically portray cloning?
Not a lot that portray cloning, but there is a movie where Joseph Gordon-Levitt meets his future self through time travel.
Oh, Inception.
That is, I believe it is one of the diehards.
Yes. And I feel like that's what it would be like if he were to. I feel like that's what the experience we have in one scenario. A clone has understood that the older version was the same person, and we did have to terminate that clone, just like in that movie, that clone was terminated.
Right, you have to put him down. Like,
yes,
any other kind of animal. That makes complete sense. I mean, some might call it sad, but I mean, they're clones.
Exactly.
I mean, come on, people. They don't have feelings.
Thank you.
At least. Okay, I was gonna say at least I maybe I should have asked that question, but I mean, it seems pretty obvious to me.
So the real true fact here is that clones do not have feelings.
No. If they could feel and had true human emotion, the painting that my George clones have been doing would be much better than they did. Oh.
George?
I just...
George.
We've got a few in history.
Well...
At least 2 that I can think of.
It's not important. That was just a name that I call them.
Just
name,
like a thorough, like sweetie.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, exactly.
Yeah, I got you.
Well, I'm just trying to think of other. I wish I knew more politicians, but I'm drawing blank here. So, is one of the tests earlier in the show we did, I took this 50-50 kind of, or my results were 50-50. Is this a test that you conduct with your clones, something to find out if they're self-aware, or is this a useful test? What are your thoughts?
I think it's very useful. I more do it for fun, for me, to confirm that they're clones. They get very confused on those tests, and of course they fail 100%. So I wouldn't be too worried if someone made like a 50-50 or a 35, like I believe that's what y'all mentioned your score for. It's when you get to the teens or lower that my guys here, they are all scoring zeros.
Okay. So the lower the percentages, the more likely you are to be a clone.
Oh, yeah. It's your human percentage.
Oh, human percentage. Got it. Oh shit.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. It's okay.
You had to find out at some point.
Where were you born?
Where was I born?
Yeah, just out of curiosity.
Oh, well, we've talked about it in the show. I was born in West Virginia.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
West Virginia. Interesting.
Should I be worried about that?
Is it something to worry about? No, I wouldn't spend time worrying, especially.
Okay.
Someone
that would just be a waste of time.
Yeah.
It'd be a waste of time, I think, if you're worried about something like that.
Yeah. So, Dr. Thelma, we've talked a little bit about what projects you have been working on, and it seems like your 7 clones is sort of an ongoing thing. Is there anything that you're working on now that you're particularly excited about, or new things? I know you mentioned you're independently wealthy, so you might have more resources available to you to do other things. Are there other projects you're pursuing right now?
Well, there wasn't any big projects. I just like to do a lot of weird cloning, and I say weird because they're not necessarily useful. Like everyone knows, or I'm sorry, most geneticists and biomedicalists like myself know that all mice, every birth of mice, they're all identical in their genes. So cloning them would be ridiculous. I like to do that. It's a fun joke, right? Thank you.
Yeah.
I see it as like like practice, like shooting hoops repetitively and not necessarily against another human.
Yes, like famous clone Michael Jordan.
Yes.
To do.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have. I've been doing that. I also, I'm independently wealthy. I'm from a family, a long line of they're in the entertainment industry. So I think that idea, Marvin, that you had about a drama about my life experience here, that's very compelling. That's something I should really be thinking about. Other than that,
my gears are turning.
Yeah. Other than that, what were you going to say?
Oh, I'm sorry. Other than that, I just like to write some opinion pieces for the Huffington Post. So,
yeah, we've had a few skilled essayists on the show before. I think that's something that is very important for experts in their field to ultimately do, is to write about their experiences and get their opinions and work out there to as many people as possible. That's one of the reasons why we do this show. It is our public service to the world to be able to bring them actual, real, true facts.
And I really thank you. A lot of people don't want to know the truth, it seems. And I really appreciate people like you that like to get the word out there.
Yeah, you have to be able to write to get published. I think we've kind of learned that. Why don't we take a quick break and be right back with more Dr. Thelma Hanks, and we are discussing cloning.
We're back from our break on Real True Facts. We are talking today about cloning. With us, we have Dr. Thelma Hanks. She is a cloning scientist. She's got multiple different titles here, but notably, she is a rogue scientist. She is kind of at the forefront of human cloning, which is something that I think the science community has frowned upon, but we've kind of deducted here that there really is no ethical argument. I'd like to bring back Dr. Seymour, and maybe we can have sort of a scientific conversation about where the two of them see where cloning is going in the future. We talk a lot about on the show evolution and missing links, and I know Dr. Seymour is very well versed in human matters and science, biology matters. If we could, Dr. Seymour, start a dialogue about the future of human cloning and maybe what the benefits of that are and kind of where we see mankind going. I think that'd be wonderful. So I'll open that up to you, Dr. Seymour.
There have been, throughout the cloning process, we know there's a couple different ways that this has happened. I assume with the human clones, are you doing a nuclear transfer, or is there some other method that seems to be more helpful for the human species?
The nuclear transfer has been successful. My first clone was done that way. But I have found that, well, I created this, I call it a pool. I don't know if you've seen Westworld.
Yes, I have.
Yes. Yeah. So it's kind of like that, where we get a sample of the DNA, the embryonic DNA from a previous clone. And then I can put it into this machine that can then replicate the womb. So then we don't have to have a biological womb. And it's kind of built like, a 3D printer, but with biology.
Oh, wow. Wow.
So let me throw this out to both of you. Is it possible to input different traits you might want, and it spits out, maybe this is a little bit past cloning and kind of making your own, like a Build-A-Bear with humans, but where you can, kind of input, hey, I want a brunette kid with blue to, and really smart, but not so smart that they would, be alienated. Is that possible? Or are you guys noodling with that at all?
I think we have, that's another discussion that people like to pretend is an ethical dilemma, which once again, I don't understand that. Like, well, we can make something better. Why don't we? But in my understanding, in the traditional sense of cloning, that we would not be creating clones in that sense, because we'd be making something specific, different, and better. But Dr. Hanks, where do you stand relative to cloning? Yeah,
that's absolutely accurate. Yes, cloning is when you have the exact replica of the DNA. What you're talking about is geneticists, where you alter the DNA. And I am very up for that. I think that is a great choice and I think that's definitely the direction we're going in, because not a lot of people know that our DNA contains every human trait. It's just the ones that are prominent that we see in ourselves. So we can actually we can make, your feet very big or very small. That's all in there. Or any other change in your physical attributes, it's already inside your genome. So,
right, and I would think you would be in the best position because you could just change one thing at a time, kind of isolate it. You create your clone, and you're like, after you spend a little time with the clone, you think, oh man, I really wish this clone were 2 inches taller, or were a size 11 instead of a size 9. And so you could go in and tinker with the next one and turn that switch on or off, and then spit that one out and see, see what your results are, see how you like it, better, worse, about the same.
I actually did tinker with one, but the results were a little outrageous. So I decided to stop. I think it might just be with this sample pool that I have, but with my second clone, I made the foot size bigger, which I didn't realize would have significance in the size of other biological parts.
Yeah.
Big eyebrows. I hate that.
Yeah.
Big feet,
nose.
Eyebrows are just awful.
Just the confidence level of that clone.
Yeah.
Was so much different than the other.
A lot of negging, I would imagine.
Yeah, really, really rude. Hurtful and hateful, I would say.
Sure. I'll pose this question to Dr. Seymour and Dr. Thelma. Human cloning, is this the key to immortality?
I would say that it is not, in that these clones, though they are the same with DNA, they don't have your experiences.
Sure.
So they might be nicer than, say, the original clone subject. The kind eyes are still the same. So without, say, the power and the bad decisions in the past of its source subject, you might grow to love a clone of maybe someone who wasn't great.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Are we heading to a place where we can potentially download personalities into a clone, or is that still far off?
Dr. Seymour?
I think that would be, there's a lot of research that would need to go in that, where we would intersect the way we store information, the way we transmit information. There's obviously a lot happening with how people's thoughts, minds, memories, experiences are being controlled. I mean, even social media is the primary function of that, is to help shape your memory in a certain way. But we only know how that's impacting individuals during their normal life. So a lot more research, I think, would have to be some crossover between that and how it connects with a clone like Dr. Hanks is working with. Can we, without allowing the clone to know it's a clone, experience the life of its previous host, if you will, to continue to live on? There's a lot of questions still.
Mm-hmm. Fascinating.
One thing I'm interested to hear Dr. Hanks with her process, technology, and experiences here. One of the things with animal clones that a lot of people are excited to do. Once again, everyone's worried about playing God, doing this and that, but people are excited as we start to look at endangered species, helping them recover. And we've even taken small steps towards recently extinct species, trying to clone those. How would it be possible to clone, or what DNA would we need from a deceased human? How live would that DNA need to be to clone them?
I'm sorry, I think you cut out just a little bit, but the last sentence there.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I was saying, in the bunker sometimes we have some audio issues. Mm-hmm. So I was saying, if we were looking at a deceased human being and we wanted to clone them, is that possible? What DNA? How far in the past would we be able to go?
As long as there is still flesh, human flesh, as long as they've not totally, turned into skeletal remains, I think that we're working on technology that can really get us there. Currently, in my experience with the mice, it only lasts about a frozen specimen that's about 2 months old. Is the oldest that I've been able to do. But I think as research progresses, we could be cloning, Shakespeare, and certainly that frozen head of Walt Disney.
Certainly.
That would probably be one of the first specimens we go to, because it's been conserved so well. So I would say, definitely the Disney family would be among the first that we'd go to. And I think within the decade, we'll be seeing that.
And if another group known for preserving the dead very well was ancient Egyptians. Do you think that there's any hope we could bring back a pharaoh or a Cleopatra?
I think we could. Cleopatra sounds like a really exciting idea. I feel like that would be really interesting and some good. The pharaohs, I've heard they were real dicks, so I'm not sure. I know what it's like to live with a dick clone, so I'm not sure if that's something that we'd want to move forward with. Just that's where the ethical line is drawn for me.
Well, if we're just doing physical clones and they don't have any of the memories, maybe we could take this opportunity to use the same human that was a pharaoh and turn him into a good gardener, or someone who's more humble.
That would be great. Someone who does their own labor, I think.
Yeah, why not maybe use cloning for a little vengeance or a little yeah.
Vengeance would be great. Yes, I am of Jewish descent, so cloning a pharaoh, I think, is what is making me feel a little trepidatious there. But I do like this idea of venge cloning. I'm going to credit you, Marvin, with that idea. That's a great idea.
Yeah, and I don't really need the credit, but I would like to see some spiteful cloning out of spite. If the technology is there, if we have the ability, I don't see why not. It seems like as good a reason as pushing the boundaries of science or medicine or helping out humans and curing illnesses, blah 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 blah.
I think it'd be good for the economy too. I mean, who wouldn't want to see someone terrible get their comeuppance?
Right, that would surely it would boost the economy.
Yeah.
Right, it would boost stock market would shoot up with some vengeful spike cloning. Definitely, I can see that.
Maybe I'll start this research using people in my own life.
Mm-hmm.
That's a great idea.
Well, I'll leave that part to you. I'm no expert. I just
Now I'll pivot a little bit because we mentioned animal cloning as well, and you've done the work with the mice. On previous shows, we did talk to an expert in Bigfoot. We talked to Ranger Steve Littles, and he posed the question of perhaps even cloning Bigfoot, because we are actually down to our last two Bigfoots. They might have hundreds to thousands of years left in their life, but when they're gone, they're gone. And we mentioned potentially cloning the Bigfoot. He had some moral and ethical hangups, which, as we've proven today, there really isn't any reason to have that. As far as conservation goes, Dr. Thelma, do you see any merit in cloning something like the Bigfoot, or is this one of those instances where when it's done, it should just be done?
If I could get a hold on a Sasquatch or a Bigfoot, I would love to clone them. During my time in Scotland, I actually tried to also locate the Loch Ness Monster so that I could do the same, actually. But
were you able to find it?
I was not able. I saw her at one point, but I was not able to get a sample, regrettably.
Sure.
Several pictures that I actually have framed around my house that are gorgeous, but
is she as large as she seems?
She's about the length of a school bus.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that an American school bus or a European school bus?
An American school bus. Yes, I was raised in America, but when I was in Scotland, I had to tell people she was the size of a quarter of a football field. And football meaning, of course, soccer.
Soccer.
I have a soccer field, sure. Now, speaking of animals, it's been crawling around in the back of my brain. Jurassic Park. Can we do that? Should we do that? And by should, I mean, is it worth the trouble?
If we are able to find some preserved DNA, like an amber, I think we should definitely do it. But should we do it? Well, life does find a way, and I'm not sure. That's what we like to say in the scientific community, and I worry that similar things could happen. But I would love to go to a theme park with dinosaurs, personally.
Right.
So,
yeah, it seems like a great idea, and so what you're saying is that the big holdup is really just getting those good DNA samples. Because once we get one or two, we could maybe kick in your cloning science and noodle around with it a bit.
Definitely. Yeah, all we need are those samples. And I would lie if I told you I hadn't tried. But so far, I haven't found any good DNA, which...
Sure.
Yeah, which is rough. But, I'm sure it'll happen at some point. We've got to find it. We have the islands. Mm-hmm. Already purchased. I have So I'm actually on a board trying to make that happen for you, Dr. Marvin. Oh, I'm sorry. Are you not a doctor?
No, I just act like it. I'm sorry.
Oh.
I get that a lot. I'm
Yeah,
I
that
think it's
happens a lot.
Mr. Marvin Hagler.
Okay.
Mhm.
Your voice
Yes,
just had the gravitas of a doctor, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do get that a lot.
Very regal.
So, in the same sense as that, we will probably see humans on Mars within our lifetime. In our lifetimes, do you think we would see a real life Jurassic Park?
I'm hoping so. I have a lot of money tied up in it, so
Sure.
I really hope so. It's definitely possible.
Well, it could have a big return for you to have such a large investment.
Yes. It
And I don't see any better reason to do it than a substantial profit.
Well, also emotional profit. I've put a lot into this. How it would be a monetary and emotional.
Oh, okay, emotion.
Well,
Interesting.
I've really put a lot into it, and the idea, it's thrilling to someone from the scientific community. I'm sure Dr. Seymour can agree. The opportunity to see some prehistoric animals brought back is just overwhelming.
Wow.
I want to talk a little bit about the emotional aspect of it because we have you dedicating your life to this work, and I am sure the decision to go rogue was not one that you made lightly. Do you have any support remaining from the scientific community regarding your research, or are you just completely going at this on your own?
I do have it's pretty much on my own. I have a couple interns, but other than that, I don't have any major backing, formal or not, from any prestigious or not community of scientists. So I feel like there are people like me out there in other places. We're all spread out. I don't want to say too much about them, but we do write each other letters and do FaceTimes. So I feel very supported emotionally that way. However, here it's just me, a few interns, I'm sorry, and sound like a real George just then. But yeah, it does get lonely, but I'm very dedicated. And if I can make myself laugh, like with a mice joke, or have a nice clone burger. I wasn't sure if this was brought up earlier. Were you guys aware that all of McDonald's burgers are from one clone?
I would say cow, but I don't know if what they use is actually beef.
Yeah, it was a beef.
It was a beef. Okay.
Originally
A beef. Sure.
Yeah. Deborah the cow. It's been about a decade now, but so you don't have to feel bad when you're eating a McDonald's because it's all just science. It's a mouthful of science.
Mouthful of science in every bite.
Mm-hmm. So,
and I think after meeting with you here on our show, I'm less concerned about you being rogue. It seems like it's the best way for you to get your work done. There's so much less red tape. A giraffe is a horse made by committee, and so you're able to not have a committee and end up with some sort of long-necked creature. You can just make that horse.
Yeah, it's great. Being independently wealthy is really great.
Now, if you had an educational institution or a scientific institution come to you, say it's a place like Fermilab, if they came to you and said, "We were wrong, come join us, here's a facility, here's some money," would you attend somewhere like that? Would you rely on these outside sources, or would you continue to do your research independently?
I don't like being told what to do, and now that I've gone independent, I feel like one of my clones would feel if it were to watch another cable channel that wasn't HBO. I'd feel like restricted again, because before I was like one of my clones, just watching HBO, never leaving my room. But now that I'm out, I can flip through any channel I want. I can go anywhere I want. And I I feel like a whole new woman. And I am just, again, really grateful that I had some very wise I had a very wise grandfather that has put me in a position where I can do pretty much whatever the fuck I want without having to worry about money.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Showtime's okay sometimes.
Yeah, on occasion.
Yeah, they're okay.
Yeah.
So before we wrap things up, we'll take a quick break, and then when we come back, we'll finish up. And Veronica, do we have any viewer or listener mail this week?
Yes, we do have one email today, so we'll open up our modest mailbag towards the end of the show.
Okay, so maybe we'll take a final break and then and wrap things up.
From a short break on Real True Facts. We're going to go ahead and wrap up cloning here. I think we've learned a lot of great things from Dr. Thelma Hanks and more from our contributing scientist, Dr. Seymour. It looks like we've got some really wonderful things in the future for cloning and for humankind. So I will say thank you to Dr. Thelma. Dr. Thelma, is there anything you'd like to leave our listeners with?
Just eat McDonald's. It's really good for you. It's good for science, and maybe not for your body, but it's good for science in general. And I just want to thank you guys for being so open-minded and to really care about the truth, which so many people just want to hear what they want. And I'm really happy to know you guys and to know that there's a community like you.
Wow, thank you. Thanks again, and please keep us updated with all your ongoing experiments.
Will do. Thanks again, guys.
Right, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Thelma. And thank you to Dr. Seymour as well. Dr. Seymour, any parting thoughts for our listeners today?
No, I'm just excited. I'm always happy to share what I know, but I'm equally excited to learn from those around me. So definitely the future is bright.
Yeah.
Great. And how about that mailbag, Veronica?
How about it? We do have one email today. It is from the same person who last week said, please don't respond. They say, why didn't you respond to me? In all caps, lizard people are real and they live under the streets of Los Angeles.
Los Angeles. Interesting. That's one theory. I think we may have to get to the bottom of that to confirm or deny or confirm.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, we can't deny or confirm. Also, all caps, you said don't respond to you, so we didn't. We don't respond to any of our emails, but if you would like to send us an email, anyone out there, you can do so at realtruefactsmail@gmail.com. You can also follow us on Instagram at realtruefactsgram. Just at realtruefactsgram at Instagram. But yes, anonymous person, lizard people are real and they live under the streets of Los Angeles. I think that might be something definitely worth talking about next week, since they took the chance to write us again about it.
Yeah, that has a lot of mystery behind it, and I think if we're not doing the service for everyone, at least for this one person, if this one person's in trouble, that means there are many more out there who may not be able to contact us, so we owe it to them as well.
Yes, absolutely. So yeah, we will tackle the idea of lizard people. I guess specifically ones that live under Los Angeles.
Right. I believe they live towards deeper into the earth, but we'll get into that. So
yeah, maybe they're coming up.
Right. And also remember to leave us a review on Podbean, iTunes, Spotify. Follow and leave a review, and link the show to your friends. Yes,
when you tell your friends, it gets our message out to more people, helps us do our job better, and brings us back week after week to talk to all of you wonderful listeners. So we'd like to thank So we'd like to thank Dr. Thelma Hanks from Queensland University, and I guess just wherever she is now doing her independent research on cloning. Thanks again to Dr. Seymour for joining us. And thank you again to all your listeners out there that keep coming back week after week. We can't do this show without you. So like we said, send us an email, follow us on Instagram. We're on YouTube as well. You can listen to the show there, leave a comment. We always love that. And keep questioning your world, because just because you read about it or hear about it doesn't mean it's true. We'll be back next week talking about lizard people. Thanks again.